Operation Allied Force. In March 1999, Europe stood at the brink of another humanitarian catastrophe. In the Serbian province of Kosovo, ethnic tensions between Albanians and Serbs had spiraled into open violence. The Yugoslav government, led by Slobodan Milosevic, launched a brutal crackdown on the ethnic Albanian population, with widespread reports of massacres, mass deportations, and systematic atrocities. Nearly 1 million people were displaced. Diplomacy had failed. The international community faced a stark choice: stand by as another genocide unfolded on European soil, or act decisively. NATO chose to act. Operation Allied Force was launched. It was the first time in NATO's history that the alliance had used military force without UN Security Council authorization, citing an urgent need to prevent a humanitarian disaster. Over the course of 78 days, NATO conducted a massive air campaign against the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, targeting military assets, infrastructure, and command centers, all aimed at halting the violence in Kosovo and forcing Milosevic to withdraw his forces. The operation involved over 1,000 aircraft from 14 NATO countries, flying more than 38,000 sorties. Bombers, fighters, surveillance planes, and drones filled the skies. Precision-guided munitions were used to strike key targets, while efforts were made to minimize civilian casualties. Yet the mission was far from clean. Civilian infrastructure was hit, including bridges, factories, and media buildings. The bombing of the Chinese embassy in Belgrade, due to faulty intelligence, sparked international outrage and nearly derailed the alliance's unity. Despite criticism, the campaign achieved its objectives. The Yugoslav army, though hardened and experienced, was ill-equipped to defend against NATO's overwhelming air superiority. Military installations were destroyed, supply lines disrupted, and command capabilities crippled. Meanwhile, the psychological toll on Milosevic's regime grew. Airstrikes over Belgrade, the capital, sent a message that no part of his power base was safe. What made Operation Allied Force particularly challenging was that it relied entirely on air power. NATO had decided not to deploy ground troops, fearing a protracted conflict or occupation. Critics argued that air power alone wouldn't compel Milosevic to yield. But after nearly 3 months of sustained bombing, political pressure mounted within Serbia. Public support waned, infrastructure crumbled, and the cost of defiance became unbearable. On June 10, 1999, Milosevic capitulated. Yugoslav forces withdrew from Kosovo, and a UN-led peacekeeping mission, backed by NATO's KFOR, moved in to stabilize the region. Kosovo was devastated, but genocide had been averted. Refugees returned home, though deep wounds remained. NATO declared the operation a success, emphasizing that the mission had saved lives and preserved regional stability. It had acted not out of conquest, but conviction, a belief that the world had a responsibility to stop mass atrocities, even without a UN green light. Yet Operation Allied Force also sparked fierce debate about the future of international intervention. Was it a noble stand for human rights, or a dangerous precedent that bypassed international law? The answers remain complex. What's clear is that the operation marked a defining moment in NATO's history, a shift toward a more assertive global role beyond collective defense. Operation Allied Force was not a perfect mission. But in a moment when the world's moral compass was tested, NATO chose action over silence. It showed that the alliance was willing to put force behind its principles, and in doing so, it helped prevent a tragedy that would have scarred a continent once again.